Hello, friends and comrades. I am dropping in again to do a little live show for you. And the first thing I'm going to ask is there sound? Is there sound? I think that there is sound, but I just can't be too sure because the other night I thought there was, and it turned out there wasn't. So, comment please if you can hear me, and I assume you'll also comment if you can't hear me because that's what happened the other night. Comments are a little delayed, so I'm going to sit here for another few seconds and talk and just make sure that you can both see and hear me talking right now. I am here to talk about good sound, rock and roll. I'm here to talk about the new record, Love and Rage, once again. I'm running a Kickstarter for it, and you can pre-order the album on CD and vinyl. You can also pre-order stuff like t-shirts or concerts with me. And there is a link that I put in the description of this show, and it should be showing up both on Facebook and on YouTube. Yay! Wonderful. Good to see you guys. Aaron showed up and he had to leave. We've got DNY, we've got Adam and Mark. Great to see you guys. Man, it is spring now, at least in the Philadelphia area. I hope that you guys are, some of you are getting the new warm weather and the birds are rioting outside and it just feels great. It feels so good. Okay, so as some of you know, I was doing a raffle for the first 500 backers on Kickstarter, and we just hit 500 last night. So the raffle is, I'm going to randomly pick somebody and have dinner with them over Zoom. But here's the problem. I'm at Joe's house. I'm not at my house, so I don't have the envelope that I sealed with the backer number. So what I'm going to do is drop in over the next day, probably tomorrow, I'll drop in and let you know who the winner is of that raffle. And I'm also going to announce our next raffle. We're going to just keep doing raffles to try and get more backers, just for fun. And let's see, I'm going to do a song from the record, and then I'm going to talk a little bit more. I am reading comments as much as I can, probably not while I'm singing, but after. So if you have anything to say, go ahead and say it, and I'll know about it for once. This is the song, Ain't No Sin. Well, my mama said that I ought to be committed, and my daddy said that I ought to go to church, and the preacher said that I ought to be repentant till the day they lay me down in the dirt. But when I go and I get to heaven, well, I know that I'm gonna get in, 'cause I'm just the way that the good Lord made me. And it might be crazy, but it ain't no sin. It ain't no sin. Well, maybe I lay with the wrong kind of lover. I got an aching heart and a worrying mind, and I ain't obeyed my father and mother, but I tell the truth and I try to be kind. So when I go and I'll get to heaven, well, I know that I'm gonna get in, 'cause I'm just the way that the good Lord made me. Yeah, and it might be crazy, but it ain't no sin. Oh, it ain't no sin. Hallelujah. How sweet the sound. I was lost, now I'm found. And when I go and I get to heaven, sin. It ain't no sin. No, it ain't no sin. Thank you. So that one is Ain't No Sin, which Joe and I co-wrote. Sort of a churchy vibe. I was not raised in a church. I know that's very shocking to hear. I am the child of a Jew and an atheist, and there wasn't a lot of religion in my household growing up. But you know, that song I think is a little more general. It's about like the feeling of shame, the feeling of society's expectations, and kind of coming out in whatever way you have to come out, whatever that's about for you, because in some ways everybody comes out sometime. Coming out as who you are and knowing in your heart that it is not a sin, whether or not you believe in sin or were raised with the idea of sin. So that's that concept, and that's another thread on the Love and Rage album is sort of the idea of pleasure and being who you are, authenticity, embracing your life, and embracing your love for yourself and for others. So yeah, that's the Love and Rage album. Rob Bruce is saying, if you don't have the envelope, you can just pick someone who was here, right? You know, I am not going to do that because I feel like I have to stick to my initial agreement, which was I'm writing down a number in this envelope, even though that's also not very random because I realized later you could hear on the last video how many numbers I was writing down, so we'll get better at it. I'll probably use a randomizer for the next raffle. So if you haven't signed up for the album yet and you want to be involved in whichever raffle comes next, which I will announce tomorrow, you can go sign up at that link. Sorry, Rob. Is the pandemic song on the album, asks Jill. I think she's talking about in these unprecedented times while we wait for the world to resume, while everybody's locked at home and eating cheese. And that song is not on the album, I'm sad to say. Although we did decide at our next rent party, which is March 27th, we're going to do all 3 of our pandemic songs. So we made a 3-minute musical about the pandemic, and we made it last April, I believe, so almost a year ago. And we're going to perform that at the next rent party. You can find that information at the link as well. It's March 27th. That is the year anniversary for us. It's our 1-year anniversary of our rent parties, number 13. So that means we've been paying the band's rent for an entire year, thanks to the love and generosity of you good people right here, right now. So thank you so much for making that possible. The one other thing I want to mention, and some of you heard me talk about this the other day, the Kickstarter is already funded. We already met our goal in the first 2 days, which is so dreamy and just such a huge relief to me to know that we're going to be able to pay for the publicity and pressing the album, which are things I've already committed to. So I sort of like went out on that limb being like, I'll figure it out, I'll find the money, and then boom, found the money. You guys donated in the first couple days and made that all possible. So some people have asked, what's going to happen if I donate now that you already met the goal? And I decided to just be honest. What's going to happen is I'm going to pay off debt from my previous albums and from this album. I took on a bunch of new debt in order to make Love and Rage. And I'm carrying debt from previous albums as well. The way the music industry is structured, if you don't have a record label, and if you aren't selling millions of records, is you get into the hole every time you make an album, and then you try and pay that album off before you make the next album, but it doesn't always work. And for somebody like me who's been sort of mid-level road dog now for 15 years, I've made a lot of albums that weren't paid for. I didn't have savings by the time I made that album. So our dream here is to go ahead and pay off the debt from this album before we make the next album. Why not? That would allow me to save money to make the next album as well. So so that's the truth. It's going to go to debt. I hope you guys all understand debt. I think you probably do. I was really nervous last time I talked about it because I was like, nobody wants to hear about debt. It's a bummer. But you know what? As is my MO, I'm just going to tell you what's actually going on. And if it pisses you off, you can go somewhere else on the internet. And if it doesn't piss you off, you can stay here and hang out with me. And I hope that you will. So thank you guys very much. I'm going to log off now. I will log back on tomorrow at some unspecified time and tell you who the winner of the raffle is. If you're on Kickstarter, you'll get an email about that as well. If it's you, it could be you. So thank you guys for tuning in and have a lovely rest of your Thursday. Mwah.